Okay, real talk. If you think your growing season is winding down right now, I need you to unlearn that. September isn't the end of your garden year. For a specific list of vegetables, it's basically a reset button. The heat backs off, the soil is still holding all that summer warmth, and that combo is exactly what a bunch of crops have been waiting for all year. I'm going to walk you through 15 vegetables you can get in the ground this month. Some finish in under a month, some are slow and steady projects that reward you right before the first frost. A couple of these are going to surprise you, especially the ones you were told to give up on after summer. And I promise, by the end of this video, you'll have a real planting list, not just vague plant some greens advice. Let's get into it. Number 1, spinach. Spinach has a timing problem, and it's not the plant's fault, it's ours. Everybody sows it in early spring, it bolts the second a warm week hits, and then people write it off for the year. But spinach was never built for spring. It's built for this. Here's the mechanism. Spinach seed germination basically stalls out once soil temps creep past the mid-80s. That's why your July sowing sat there doing nothing. In September, the soil is cooling back down through that window, so germination actually gets more reliable, not less, as the month goes on. Sow the seed about an inch deep, and don't panic if it takes a week or two longer to show up than lettuce would. Spinach is just slower off the blocks. A forgiving variety for a first attempt is Renegade, which handles a wider soil temperature range than older heirloom types. You're looking at roughly 6 to 7 weeks to a first cut. The harvesting mistake almost everyone makes, pulling the whole plant. Don't. Snip the outer leaves with scissors and leave the crown intact. It'll keep pushing new leaves from the center for weeks. One sowing, multiple harvests. And if frost touches the bed later on, leave it. Cold-touched spinach loses its slight mineral bitterness and turns noticeably sweeter. Number 2, lettuce. Lettuce is the crop that convinces people gardening is worth it because the payoff is so fast. Loose leaf types can hit harvest size in under a month, and September air keeps the leaves crisp instead of turning them limp and grassy the way a July heatwave does. Where people mess this up isn't the growing, it's the timing. They sow one tray, harvest it all in one go, and then have a 3-week gap with nothing coming in. The fix is succession sowing. A small pinch of seed today, another small pinch in about 8 days, then another 8 days after that. By the time tray 1 is ready to eat, tray 2 is already halfway there. That's how you get a continuous salad bowl instead of a single feast then famine harvest. Don't rip the plant out at harvest either. Cut outer leaves at the base and let the center regrow. You can often get 2 or 3 cuttings off the same lettuce before it's spent. And unlike most vegetables, lettuce doesn't just tolerate a light frost. It actually improves. The cold slows growth just enough to concentrate the sugars in the leaf. Number 3, kale. Kale gets a bad rap because most people have only ever eaten summer kale. Tough, leathery, kind of bitter. That's not what kale actually is. That's what kale is before it's been cold stressed. When temperatures drop, kale plants start converting stored starch into sugar as a built-in antifreeze mechanism. It's a survival response, not a flavor gimmick. Practically, that means the exact same plant tastes noticeably different in November than it did in August, with zero effort from you beyond just waiting. For a first-timer, Red Russian is a great pick. The leaves are flatter and more tender than curly kale, so it's more forgiving in salads and less stringy when cooked. Some growers deliberately hold off harvesting until after the first frost specifically to cash in on that flavor shift. And kale doesn't just survive cold, it shrugs it off. In a lot of climates, it'll keep producing leaves well past the point most of your other crops have called it quits. Number 4, arugula. If you want proof gardening doesn't have to be a long game, arugula is it. Seed to harvest can be as fast as 3 weeks. That speed isn't just convenient, it's a pest avoidance strategy built into the plant's timeline. It's often ready and cut before slower growing greens have even attracted attention from bugs. The flavor is the whole personality of this crop, and it's controllable. Young, small leaves taste mild and nutty. Let the same plant grow bigger and older, and the peppery bite intensifies fast. So if you like it gentle, harvest early and often. If you want that sharp, restaurant plate kick, let it mature a bit longer before cutting. September cooling actually mellows that peppery edge slightly compared to a summer-grown batch, which is part of why fall arugula tends to taste more balanced. One timing note. The later in the month you sow, the more you're racing a hard frost. So if you're planting in the back half of September, pick your sunniest open spot to give it every advantage. Number 5. Swiss chard. Swiss chard is the plant I'd hand to someone who's nervous about killing things. It's not fussy about soil, it tolerates a missed watering here and there, and instead of a one-and-done harvest, it just keeps producing for months. The variety worth seeking out is Bright Lights. The stems come in this natural gradient of magenta, gold, and white on the same plant, which sounds like a garden center exaggeration until you actually see it growing. It genuinely reads more like a flower bed than a vegetable patch, which is why a lot of people plant it somewhere visible on purpose. On the plate, think of chard as spinach and celery had a baby, tender leaf, crunchier stem. Most cooks separate the two and start the stems in the pan a few minutes before adding the leaves, since the stems need more time to soften. And chard shrugs off frost about as well as kale does, which is exactly why a September planting isn't a gamble. It's planting something that's already built for where the weather's headed. Number 6. Carrots. Carrots respond to September's day-night temperature swing better than almost anything else on this list. That gap between a warm afternoon and a cold night is basically a trigger for the plant to store more sugar in the root. The classic carrot complaint, stubby, forked, twisted roots, is almost never a seed problem. It's a soil problem. Carrot roots need loose, rock-free, well-draining soil at least a foot deep. Anything solid in that path, a rock, a clay clump, compacted dirt, makes the root bend around it or split. If your native soil is heavy, working in compost, or just growing in a raised bed solves this instantly. Once that's sorted, September gives you something spring can't, time and cool ground. As temps drop, carrots left in the soil keep converting starch to sugar, so a carrot pulled in late fall consistently tastes sweeter than one pulled in June. This isn't really about racing the calendar. It's about giving the root a straight path and then letting the cold finish the job for you. Number 7. Beets. Beets like the same cooling soil carrots and spinach do, so if you're already planting those, beets slot right into the same bed without any extra thinking. The reason beets so often come out small isn't the variety. It's that beet seeds are actually tiny seed clusters, so multiple seedlings sprout from what looks like one spot. Left crowded, they fight each other for root space and none of them bulk up properly. Once seedlings are a couple inches tall, thin them down to roughly 3 to 4 inches apart. It feels wasteful pulling perfectly healthy little seedlings, but it's the only way the ones that stay actually get to size. Here's the part beginners usually don't know. Beet greens are essentially free spinach. They're just as nutrient-dense, and a quick sauté with garlic turns them into a legitimate second vegetable. Off the same plant, same bed, same water. You're not growing one crop here. You're growing two. Number 8. Radishes. Radishes are a genuine cheat code for new gardeners because they're done in about 25 days. You could plant these today and be eating them before the month's out. Sow about a ½ inch deep, an inch apart. The single biggest reason people end up with all leaf and no bulb is crowding. Packed-in roots compete for the same small patch of soil and never swell properly, so don't be shy about spacing them out. Watering matters more than people expect too. Radishes want steady, even moisture. Let the soil go bone dry and then drown it, and the roots crack or grow lopsided. Little and often beets one big soak. Because they're so fast, radishes are perfect for the same succession planting trick as lettuce. A small batch every week or two keeps a rolling harvest going instead of one giant pull them all at once moment. Number 9. Broccoli. Broccoli in spring is basically racing the thermometer. Rising heat pushes it to bolt into small, loose buds before it's ever formed a real head. Fall flips the pressure completely. As temps drop instead of climb, the plant has no reason to rush and just keeps building one tight head. Most people start from transplants this time of year rather than seed, simply because the shrinking daylight doesn't leave room for the extra weeks seed starting would cost. From transplant, figure 55 to 70 days to a full head, which still lands well inside a September start. Water matters a lot here. Inconsistent watering during head formation is a common cause of loose or uneven heads, so aim for a deep soak once or twice a week rather than a light daily sprinkle. And here's the underrated part. Cutting the main head isn't the end. Most varieties keep sending up smaller side shoots for weeks afterward, so one plant quietly turns into 3 or 4 harvests. Number 10. Cauliflower. Cauliflower is pickier than broccoli, and it's worth knowing why. It doesn't want heat, and it doesn't want extremes. It wants the calm, steady middle ground September naturally offers, which is exactly the environment it needs to form one even head instead of stress splitting into several small ones. The real challenge isn't growing it, it's the color. Left exposed to direct sun, the developing head turns yellowish and slightly bitter. The fix is called blanching, and it's simpler than the name suggests. Once the head is roughly egg-sized, gather the outer leaves up over it and secure them loosely with twine or a clip. That blocks light, and the head stays pale and tender as it finishes developing. Water discipline matters here too. Let the soil dry out during head formation, and the plant often responds by buttoning, splitting its energy into several tiny loose heads instead of one solid one. A deep watering once or twice a week keeps that risk low. It's more hands-on than most of this list, but the payoff head looks like something you actually earned. Number 11, cabbage. Cabbage wants the same steady, moderate temperature drop cauliflower does. Planted in summer heat, and it struggles to form a tight head. Planted in September, and it settles into exactly the rhythm it wants. From transplant, most varieties need 70 to 90 days, which lines up almost perfectly with a September start. Enough runway to mature before the coldest stretch, without dragging on so long you're racing frost. And there's a built-in bonus. A September planting often matures right as the first light frosts hit, and cold doesn't hurt cabbage. It softens its natural sharpness into something milder and slightly sweeter. The one thing to watch is a small green caterpillar that chews ragged holes in the leaves. The good news is September works in your favor here too. As it cools down, the moths responsible for those caterpillars become far less active, so fall cabbage naturally deals with less pressure than a spring crop. A lightweight row cover right after transplanting handles the rest without needing any spray at all. Number 12, Brussels sprouts. Brussels sprouts don't grow the way most people picture. There's no single head. Instead, you get one tall central stalk, and dozens of small sprouts form along the sides, each one tucked at a leaf joint. This is a slow crop. 80 to 100 days is normal. So September is close to the last reasonable window to start them if you want a real harvest before deep cold sets in. There's one technique that makes a genuine difference. About 3 to 4 weeks before you plan to harvest, snip off the very top growing point of the stalk. That tells the plant to stop putting energy into new leaf growth and redirect it into the sprouts already forming. Skip this step and sprouts often stay small and loose. Do it, and they size up and tighten noticeably. And then the payoff. A real frost doesn't damage Brussels sprouts. It transforms them, converting stored starch into sugar and taking the edge off the bitterness that turns so many people off the store-bought version. Most growers deliberately harvest right after that first hard frost, at the exact point the flavor peaks. Number 13, kohlrabi. Kohlrabi looks like it wandered into the wrong garden. A round, pale bulb sitting right above the soil line with leafy stems shooting out in every direction like a little alien satellite. It's genuinely one of the more forgiving crops on this list. It's ready in around 55 days, so a September sowing still has plenty of runway before hard frost. And the cooling weather actually works in its favor. Slower growth concentrates the plant's natural sugars, so fall kohlrabi is consistently crisper and sweeter than a summer-grown bulb. Taste-wise, it splits the difference between a broccoli stem and an apple, mild, crunchy, faintly sweet. Raw and sliced into a slaw, it's crisp and refreshing. Roasted, it softens and caramelizes at the edges into something closer to a potato. And don't toss the leafy tops. They're just as edible as the bulb, and treated like any hearty green with a quick garlic sauté. Nothing on this plant goes to waste. Direct sow it, give it a little elbow room, and mostly leave it alone. Number 14, cilantro. Cilantro spends all summer losing a fight against heat. It bolts almost the moment temperatures spike, throwing up a flower stalk and leaving you with sparse, bitter leaves right when you wanted a steady supply for salsa. September is where that fight finally ends in cilantro's favor. As the air cools, cilantro stops racing to flower and just focuses on producing full, leafy growth for weeks at a stretch. Worth knowing, cilantro and coriander are the same plant at 2 different stages. The fresh leaf is cilantro, and the dried seed the plant eventually produces is coriander. So even a plant that does bolt isn't wasted. Let the flowers go to seed, dry them, and you've got a spice cabinet refill for free. One easy hack: if you've got store-bought cilantro with the roots still on, stand the stems in a glass of water on a sunny windowsill. New roots form within a week or two, and once they're established you can transplant straight into soil, a second batch of plants without buying more seed. Number 15. Dill. Dill closes this list out on a quieter note, but it earns its spot for reasons that go past flavor. Most of this list has treated bolting as the enemy. Dill is the exception. It's one of the rare crops where a September planting genuinely beats a summer one, because the cooler stretch produces noticeably fuller, softer foliage than a heat-stressed summer batch ever does. Heat pushes dill to flower and seed almost immediately, which cuts your usable leaf harvest short. September's milder temperatures slow that whole process down, so you get weeks of soft, feathery growth instead of a plant that rushes straight past the leafy stage. It's also genuinely container-friendly, so it's a good pick even if your beds are already full for the season. A decent depth pot, some sun, and regular watering is about all it asks. And beyond the kitchen, letting a few plants flower late in the season draws in beneficial insects, especially the predators of common garden pests. So dill quietly does pest control work in the background while everything else in the bed gets on with growing. So that's the list. 15 vegetables, and honestly, most of them aren't fighting September, they're made for it. If you take one thing from this video, let it be this: don't treat fall like the closing credits of your garden year. For this list, it's closer to the opening scene of round 2. Pick 2 or 3 from this list that fit your space, get them in the ground this week, and let the cooling weather do the rest of the work for you. If this helped you plan out your fall beds, I'd genuinely appreciate a like. It tells me to keep making guides like this one. And if you want next month's follow-up on what to plant in October, subscribe so it lands in your feed when it's out. See you in the next one.